A leopard escaped in the US, and almost no one heard about it. Here's what happened. This wasn't a jungle in India or a savanna in Africa. It was suburban Dallas, Texas. In January 2023, the Dallas Zoo reported that a clouded leopard named Nova had gone missing. At first, zoo staff thought the animal might be hiding somewhere inside her enclosure's thick foliage. But a closer look revealed something far more concerning. The mesh on the habitat had been cut. That's when the zoo activated its internal Code Blue protocol, signaling a non-dangerous animal escape. Police, zoo officials, and animal experts combed the area, while the public received limited updates. Surprisingly, the zoo remained open even as Nova, a 25-pound leopard, wandered beyond her exhibit. Officials insisted Nova wasn't dangerous to people, more like a large house cat than a threat. Still, locals were shocked at the idea of a wild leopard potentially roaming through a public park. Nova was eventually found after hours of searching, perched in a tree near her enclosure. She was unharmed, tranquilized, and safely returned. But the situation raised big questions. Why hadn't the public been more urgently notified about a leopard on the loose in a city? And how did someone manage to cut into a zoo habitat without being caught in the act? Further investigation revealed similar vandalism had occurred to a monkey enclosure the same night. That suggested the escape wasn't an accident. It could have been part of a deliberate act. Even more shocking, the same zoo reported a series of break-ins just weeks after Nova's escape. 2 emperor tamarin monkeys vanished mysteriously and were later found in a vacant Dallas home. The event sparked security upgrades, but Nova's escape faded quickly from national headlines. No charges were filed in the leopard incident, and the culprit who cut the mesh remains unknown. This quiet handling of a leopard escape raised concerns about how zoos manage public communication. Many questioned why an incident involving a predator was treated with such calm indifference. Was it an attempt to avoid public panic, or a case of underestimating the risks? Nova's species, the clouded leopard, is native to Southeast Asia and rarely aggressive toward humans. But they're agile, tree-dwelling hunters capable of long leaps, powerful climbs, and stealthy escapes. Clouded leopards are considered vulnerable by the IUCN, with populations declining due to habitat loss. In captivity, they're shy and elusive, but still unpredictable if frightened or mishandled. That's why animal welfare groups criticize the Dallas Zoo for failing to issue broader warnings. The city's silence contrasts sharply with past animal escape incidents that drew massive media attention. In 2011, for instance, dozens of exotic animals escaped from a private farm in Zanesville, Ohio. That story made international headlines, and police had to shoot many of the animals for safety. Nova's escape was different. There was no chaos, no major press coverage, and no dramatic outcome. Some suspect that the low-profile nature of the animal and the zoo's spin minimized public reaction. Others argue that the incident reflects growing desensitization to big cat ownership and management. There are an estimated 7,000 tigers in private hands across the US, more than in the wild. This includes people keeping large cats without proper licenses, security, or emergency protocols. Nova's escape should have reignited debate about exotic animal ownership and zoo safety nationwide. Instead, it became a brief local news story and a forgotten footnote in America's wildlife timeline. For those paying attention, though, the situation highlighted the gaps in animal containment systems. It also underscored how media silence can shape public perception of wildlife-related risks. The leopard escaped, was found, and life moved on, but the vulnerabilities remain unaddressed. What if Nova had left the zoo grounds and entered a residential neighborhood or a nearby school? Would public officials still have kept the incident quiet, trusting the animal wasn't dangerous? And why wasn't there a city-wide alert, even as armed officers searched with tranquilizer rifles? It's likely that most Dallas residents had no idea anything unusual had even happened that morning. That's alarming considering this wasn't a squirrel or stray dog. It was an exotic predator. Leopards may not typically attack people, but they are still capable of causing serious harm, especially if startled, cornered, or desperate. An escaped big cat poses real potential for danger. Yet this escape was handled like a misplaced zoo sign, not a major public safety concern. In an age of constant news coverage, how did a leopard's escape slip quietly under the radar? Did media outlets ignore the story, or was it downplayed by authorities before reporters took notice? The Dallas Zoo assured the public that new safety measures were installed after the escape. That includes reinforced barriers, additional surveillance cameras, and overnight security patrols. But those upgrades came after Nova had already slipped away, proving the existing system wasn't enough. More importantly, it raised questions about how other facilities would respond to similar events. Would another city respond with full lockdowns, or also downplay the risk to preserve the zoo reputation? And how much transparency do the public and press deserve when dangerous animals escape containment? In the end, Nova's story isn't just about one leopard. It's about how we manage the wild in captivity. It's about the invisible line between human spaces and animal spaces, and what happens when it breaks. The escape highlighted the tension between zoo conservation missions and public entertainment roles. Zoos often present themselves as safe, family-friendly spaces, but they house unpredictable wild animals. When a leopard escapes, it should prompt national reflection, not quiet reassurances and quick forgetfulness. Because next time, the escape might not end in a harmless tree nap. It could end in tragedy.